Aloha nerds, Jerk here, and as promised, here's our look at the top of the IJN light cruiser line, the Takahashi. Oh, that's not right. That is a delicious Japanese spice. This is the Takahashi, which is also quite spicy, and part of that is because, yes, we're using the broken Azerlane Atago on as the commander, but honestly, that's not a requirement. I think you could do just fine with Mikawa, or there's the calendar guy. I forget his name, but I don't think I'd use Yamamoto, as I think concealment is probably the way to go with these lightly armored battle boats, and of course that means we're going to get spotted before we can actually do our turn out. Oops. Well, this has become quite uncomfortable, but I'm spotted, so I might as well shoot and wait for the shells to miss me before I can complete my turn to get out. Oh, there's some from somebody, and I believe we can go ahead and try and complete our turn now. Cross our fingers and hope that nothing too terrible happens here. Plus, hey, look, Bismarck's going right towards our torps. Anyway, this is, of course, armed with 150mm goons that have 1/5 HE pin, which means you can crack 30mm of armor. That tier, well, you're going to need to be starting fires on battleships or getting floods on them. Of course, you can be quite torturous to other cruisers, and you'll recall the battle cruisers bow and stern at this tier is 27mm or less, so you can pin them too, which might be important later. Personally, I was not too thrilled with this line grinding through it. I used a lot of GXP to get through the ships, and even Shimanto, which I thought I'd enjoy, it was a bit underwhelming. So why is it then that I actually like this ship? Well, it's almost identical to Shimanto. It's got the same rate of fire, basically the same armor, and yet I do. I don't know, man. But there have been numerous people in my life who have told me I have questionable tastes on many things. So, how are we playing these ships? Basically what you're seeing here. We kite and farm. This is not much aside from, there's not much on these, aside from these really good torp angles that will allow you to push larger boats. And yet, we're going to have to push later in this match. And as an added bonus, if you're interested, I've included a match that I had actually right before this one at the end of this video, because it's actually even better. I think it's more typical of a game, you know, because it's not 5 destroyers or whatever we have here, 4 destroyers. And it also is a 4000 XP match, and I'm bottom tier. So you may want to kind of stick around to see that after this match. But in this particular match, first off, we got to get rid of this Bismarck. This Bismarck is a real pain in my butt because that's a Bismarck B, so he's got really long range secondaries. I know my Bismarck B, I think, can hit 12.4, and this guy seems to have around 11. And yeah, those secondaries will definitely chip away over time on this ship. Not to mention, there's a destroyer back there that keeps spotting me. I believe it's the Kagero that's now on the other side of that island. So once we get rid of this Bismarck, though, I can actually turn back in and try and go support my destroyer buddies. But if you look at the mini-map, you may see the problem is that they are going to be on our cap quite soon. So I'm actually going to go back to our cap to try and defend it, but basically we know what's going to happen in this match now. Those destroyers are going to go up through the middle. I believe there are 2 Frieslands. I didn't realize it at the time. You'll see something a little bit later. But yes, the 2 destroyers are going to go up the middle. I don't even know. They might even be in a division. And now this Hawk, and I believe there's a Duncan, will be pushing up that way too. And I started to think I am in big trouble right now, because there's not really any way that I can farm down those British battle cruisers with HE. And while this does have AP, it doesn't exactly do much with it. So my plan here is to get closer to our cap and just get into a position where I can actually use these torpedoes somehow. Now, we know there's a Kagero over in the smoke somewhere, and actually our CV will be spotting them, which is very handy. Finally, a useful CV player. But I don't realize what... I was thinking this... I'm going to shoot the mountain there. I was thinking that mountain was actually behind it, but no, that is the mountain in front, so we just did some landscaping right there. But yeah, so we're getting spotted. That kind of tells me that we are spotted right here from the gap. We knew those destroyers were coming this way. I don't know what destroyers they are. It is a Friesland, but I never looked to see what the other destroyer is. So while you're going to see me hit my hydro, it's not because I think the Friesland has torps. It's because I think the other destroyer could have torps. And so I want to make sure I'm not getting torped while I shoot this guy. But, yeah, it's actually another Friesland. The only destroyer left with torps is the Kagero over on the side. But anyway, interestingly enough about this hydro, it does have a bit more range and it reloads quite quickly. So you can get them off pretty aggressively. Right here, we're going to go ahead and use this shot to go ahead and sink the Kagero because, let's be real, torps are more threatening than Friesland guns, and I don't know, maybe we just get lucky, but there's a bonk. Or yoink, whatever you want to call it. And now we're going to get into this position to attempt to torp these BBs, baby. Yeah, as you can see, pretty good firing angles on here. But look at actually have a fairly decently long time to actually arm, right? It's not like a destroyer where I feel like those torps arm immediately. These actually have to travel a little bit of range. So Hail Mary down on the Hawk here, because that thing can absolutely crush me, as can the Duncan. But coming around this corner, surprise, mother trucker. Oh, it's a Friesland. Well, we do have Azurlina Tago on here, and bonk. And so that's quite nice. If you don't know, that makes her HE do even more damage. So we will get that one. Then we will get this one. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. We might actually win this game now. Missed my torps on the Hawk, though. That's frustrating. Because I know they're relatively stealthy, so I'm not sure how. I don't know. They probably just were one of those angles where, you know, they had a nice big gap. And what the... Oh, my God. I'm dead. Dead as a doornail, right? Nope. Somehow, Duncan... I don't know if he shot HE or if he shot... there's no way he shot AP. I would be dead. But yeah, I'm trying to make myself as skinny as possible. Because we got our torps down. We got them for him to slow down, which they do. And all of a sudden, we're 4 ships sunk. But there is, of course, this Hawk who has been shooting at me. That was one of the people who shot at me at the beginning, so they want me dead. My torps aren't ready on this side. So basically try and get skinny. And you'll notice the shells from this Hawk, they actually go into my bow and probably overpin. We'll watch them hit me right here. Yeah, it looks like they probably overpin. But at that point, okay, well, we've got, what, about 20 seconds before they're reloaded, their guns. But, as I mentioned, 27mm bow, and we pin 30, so we can just shoot HE right here and pick up our Kraken in the Takahashi. So, pretty decent match. Kind of shows you, you know, what it can do, but not a typical match. And, well, you know, we make, what, 2736 XP, which is nothing to write home about. But, as I mentioned, we will be going to the second game now, and this one is quite a bit more typical. Why is it that Ouija just won't bring in the full line when they introduce a new line now? So the legendary tier ship that completes this line on PC is called Yodo. And yeah, I just think it would have been nice for them to bring it in. As it is, it's kind of like, it's hard to justify. As I was mentioning, this is essentially the same ship as the Shimanto, and it's kind of hard to justify, you know, dropping the, whatever it is, 30 million or something on this when Yodo's not in there, because you're going to be, you know, you're going to be bottom tier more often than not, right? And you're not really getting too much over Shimanto. Well, you get this cool camo. I guess that's worth it. Anyway, I am dropping off torps into the usual spots where people like to go. That's kind of how you want to use these torps. They are area denials. I mean, they are pretty stealthy. And they do hit decently hard, but there's a fair amount of space between them. So I don't know that I'm really catching too many destroyers with these, but I have, you know, you can catch battleships pretty regularly and cruisers too. They're not very fast, but sometimes that's a good thing because you can drop them and get to a position that's somewhere else entirely, and so people aren't even thinking about it. Foreshadowing again, jerk, perhaps. But on this map, yeah, because we don't really need to create crossfires with this because we're going to be spamming HE mostly. So I don't mind going out to this edge here and using this island to, you know, try and just damage farm from cover. That being said, I'm still going to shoot right now because Schroeder probably doesn't have the gun range or whatever. You know, we don't mind. Maybe somebody else will shoot at us. We did see there's a big old battleship back there, but they're pretty far away. That being said, somebody's on the base, so, you know, I don't think it's just the Schroeder because they are not getting completely reset. Either way, we will just be spamming our HE, and then we can turn in here and try and farm this ship down a little bit. That's kind of the name of the game for these IJN light cruisers. That being said, you still gotta play with your head, you know, just gotta use your brain sometimes, which I know we all hate. Like right there, we saw Schroeder take some torps, so undoubtedly has their damage control active or down, so we can go ahead and start burning them and getting them off of this map while we can do it from the safety of behind this island. Isn't that what people always complain about? Cowards hiding behind islands. All right, well, let's not do that then. Let's push out. now that the threat's gone. Oh, gearing. But actually, here we go. Okay, Brisbane. So we should be able to do a little damage on this with our HE because, you know, it is a fairly lightly armored cruiser. I'll be honest, I do try and sink this ship later with some AP, and we do use a little bit of AP in this, but these shells are so floaty at this range that I don't know what the pin is, but I'm not even trying. I'm just like, you know what, let's just fire HE endlessly and we'll see what happens. That being said, somebody just shot AP at me there. I am aware that Brisbane has long range, very stealthy torps. So I am turning out, you know, kind of kite position. I want to get as much farming done on this as possible before they probably sink our Schroeder that's up there, because we need to limit the number of ships that we're engaged with at a time, right? We know there's a destroyer over here. We know there's this cruiser over here. We know there's a battleship over here. So I can't really push in and do anything about this cap until one of those are gone, preferably the battleship, because that thing will blow me out of the water. But in the meantime, we will just get some damage on that Brisbane while we can, and then drop torps for this Yamato into where we think that they will be going. Like, that one's kind of on the indicator, and then I'm going to drop another one in a little bit. Oh, look. He's still here. But I don't want to give away my position anymore. Mainly because I'm broadside to where the Yamato is and they would crush me. So let's get going this way again, and we will drop another set there. And it looks like this Brisbane, well, we might be able to get a shot off on him. But I'm right at the edge of my my firing range too, so that'll allow me to drop detection pretty quickly as well. Which is kind of a benefit sometimes, even though the firing range on here is pretty small. I think it's 15.1 kilometers without building too much into it. I guess I could always put on that mod that adds more range, but personally, I'm okay with this. Anyway, using the island, I'm gonna farm this Yamato now. Hopefully get a couple fires on them, let them burn that damage control, and then, you know, we will get the flood if they actually take torp. But we're in a good spot right here. I'm not going to be spotted by anything, so I can just fire salvo after salvo and get fires. But you'll also see the most of our shells are just shattering because, again, 32 mils, right? So we can't really get any damage there, but we can start fires, and it looks like they use their damage con. just in time to take a torp, and now they are flooding out. And here's where I was thinking. I was like, okay, look, we just got a fire on them. Looks like they have 2 fires on them. Do you think they are running fight fire with fire? Because if I get one more fire on them, then the flood, everything will stop. So I look right here. No, not running fight fire with fire. So they've got 3 fires on them and a flood. So let's go crazy and try and get 4 fires before this ship is able to do any damage to anybody. Look at how fast that health ticks down. We're already at 122,000. Okay, there we go. The ship is gone, the main threat, but we also know that there's probably still a destroyer over here and that Brisbane. But we have plenty of health at this point, so we can actually start to be a little bit more aggressive with this ship now because, you know, we don't have a lot of health. I am spotted. And conveniently, nice predictive torps coming from the gearing, and we're going to take one. Boop. Does that really make a difference? Nah, it doesn't really have much impact out on the game, but we are still kind of struggling on this side. And hey, there's the gearing there. So I'm going to try and chase this gearing down with my hydro because we do have that extended range. And look at that, Brisbane's trying to support the gearing, so you know there can be some team play in Legendary tier. But as it is, our hydro is not going to last too terribly long, but it does reload quickly. So I just figure right now this guy has terrible concealment, so let's just go ahead and push him as fast as we can. There is the Brisbane. We are we're gonna focus on the gearing for the time being. Gearing's the bigger threat, so let's get him while we can. Okay, gearing's going and dropping spot now, so we can try and get a salvo off on the Brisbane here. And be cognizant to change our direction because the gearing only dropped 1 set of torps earlier, so probably has another one ready, and we gotta, you know, plan for that. I'm assuming that the gearing's off to the right here because, you know, I'm spotted, but I don't know what my smoke fire penalty is, so I'm not really positive here, but that's why I'm going to take this hard turn to use the island right here to be able to block any torps, but in fact, there they are, so we're fine. And then I'm going to drop torps as I go around here to try and catch anybody perhaps coming around the corner. We'll just see if we can. And then we will prepare to engage with the Brisbane, which... You can see I'm fiddling with AP and HE because I'm like, I want to try AP on Brisbane with this because we know it's going to be close range. So maybe we can get an AP salvo off on it. It's like, yeah, that'd be fun. Let's see what this AP can actually do. But as it is, we're going to spot the gearing first. So it's like, well, I have this AP loaded. Let's see what it can do. We got 2 pins, but yeah, it bounces because, you know, small guns. We're not going to overmatch the gearing. Oh, there he is again. And I think we will be able to lob him one more time. He's trying to use AP. Interesting. I don't think gearing has that much, but anyway, we get one more, and then I was like, I want to shoot this Brisbane. But we also, let's play to win. Let's get the gearing first. So we get that salvo off, switch to AP. And boy, the gun reload on here is a little long, isn't it? I also know this guy's dropping torps. That's why we have our hydro already up and ready. And I'm trying to get the perfect angle here. He's turned out. So I'm like, all right, fine. I'll switch back to HE. And we will try and get a shot on him there. But they're going to actually take a Shima torp. So... you know, we don't actually get the Brisbane, which is a bummer because if we had, this would have been a Kraken game, but as it were, we don't. So reading the minimap, going to sea, right? I'm pretty sure this game's in the bag. We've got all their destroyers now. I'm just looking over. Our battleship has plenty of health. We know this destroyer behind us has plenty of health. So let's just lead the charge, right? We'll lead the charge onto sea. I'm still trying to look at what other ships are over on the other side because I'm like, is that Ohio going to be able to sink that? Well, I think it's in Alaska. I'm like, okay, well, that might be a 4th ship sunk. And then we've got 2 more. Okay. Oh, that guy's low. Okay. Okay. I'll sauce. That could be our 4th ship sunk. And then I'm not sure what the cruiser is. Oh, it's a Colbert. Okay. So Colbert, well, our HE, you know, cannot pin their 32 mils, but we can break all their guns. We can start fires on them. And then we could always try the AP out on that because very lightly armored. But anyway, still just trying to get on the cap first and come around behind this all sauce. Here's where I wish I had a little bit more gun range. See, I'm checking. I'm like 15-1-3. That's nothing. Oh, okay. Well, let's get a salvo over there. As we know, all sauce covered in 32 millimeters, so I believe we're just going to get some shatters here. I was trying to aim as high as I could, but, or maybe get a fire even. Yeah, we get 1 pin. Whoop-de-doo. Anyway, I'm just gonna push right through this cap because I'm greedy. Right? I'm greedy and I want to Kraken in this match. So, as it is though, I think we actually end up capping this if I'm not mistaken. This is one of those situations where I'm always like, the guys behind me, you know, we always say this in stream, but where do they think the game is? Like, the guys behind me, that's kind of like, that's the difference between, you know, making money at legendary tier and not. Because the game is so far away from them now that it's going to be quite difficult for them to have an impact on this. Ugh, look at all those shatters. Man, I should have just, I aimed too low there. That's a bummer. And I was all like, oh, okay, thanks, main. Thanks for nothing. So the best I could hope for here is now the four ships sunk. So I don't really know where the Colbert is, but I'm thinking, okay, well, there he is. All right. So we can lob that, and I'm going to switch over to AP because I'm looking at the minimap and I'm like, okay, I got this guy's broadside. We should be able to, you know, actually hit the Citadel on that, assuming that we have the pin, which again, I'm not sure of off the top of my head, but we know Colbert has no armor. So I've switched to AP and I'm just waiting for the indicator to say my shells will lob over, and then we'll just take the flick shot, the snapshot, whatever you want to call it. Use the auto aim to do all the work for us. Fire and forget it, and we will get a double Citadel here. Bonk bonk. And end up that game. And check out the XP here, man. Sometimes it pays to be in the lower tier because you get more XP when you do damage to higher tier ships. And there we go. 4,021 XP. Anyway, let me know what you guys think of this line of ships. I'm still, we'll see, but I kind of like this one.